Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel and another video. Let's do the intro and get right into it. Yes, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel and another video. Now, I'm by myself, which is by choice. The last couple of weeks, I haven't uploaded at all, which is, I know, is very, very bad. I apologize. Um, Again, not trying to make excuses here. I did have a dalliance with the NHS and was in hospital actually on the day of the Bilbao game. So that's why I didn't podcast after that one, and Nottingham Forest, and then Manchester City and Port Vale. That was my birthday weekend on the Saturday. And as a 34-year-old man, I overestimated how much alcohol that I can consume. Um, I'll be brutally honest. I thought that I could drink at the levels that I could drink as a younger man, and I can no longer do that as a 34-year-old man. So that is the reason why there was nothing after Manchester City, and then after Port Vale, because I would have combined the two, or done one and then done another one. But yeah, we're here now. That's all that matters. I'll try and be as quick as I possibly can be, because I know that in about 15, 20 minutes, Sky start with their coverage of Super Sunday and everything. So I know people probably want to get ready and go and do that. And hey, there he is. As always, thank you very much, Hente. Much obliged. Much appreciated, my friend. Good to have you here. So, going into it, obviously Arsenal, we played Nottingham Forest first. We come into that one off the back of our first loss of the season with a changed lineup. The full force of that new strike force started, as well as Zubamendi and Mosquera at centre back again, to show for me a real change for Arteta. You know, Arteta wouldn't normally start 5 new starters from the off, so I thought that was a positive sign from him to actually back all of his new signings to play. And I know there's injuries are a big factor as well, but he could have played, you know, people that have been in the team beforehand. But no, he backed his new signings, which I was very, very pleased about. Unfortunately, during that game, succumbed to another injury, don't we? And it was Martin Odegaard this time, and it was with the shoulder again about 18 minutes into the game. And then for the first 30 minutes, I thought that Arsenal looked really, really threatening. Madueke especially, easily Arsenal's biggest threat in this game and danger. But it was Zubamendi who broke the deadlock with an incredible volley. One of the best goals that Arsenal are probably going to score this season from Martin Zubamendi. It was an absolute screamer. And then halftime comes along and we scored right after the restart for the second half. You know, Gyökeres, he got the cross laid on precisely to him from Eberechi Eze very early as well with that cross. You know, the ball come over the top. It bounced over the fullback. Fullback should never let it bounce, by the way. But and then Eze, he could have took a touch and then crossed it, but no, first time just crossed it straight into Gyökeres. And Gyökeres scored. And I don't think that's going to be the only time this season that we talk about these two players linking up. So I'm hoping there that there's going to be a partnership brewing. And then obviously before Gyökeres hit the signature pose that we're all used to him hitting, he embraced Eze with a powerful handshake. It was very reminiscent of Dutch and Dylan, or Arnie and Carl Weathers, if you prefer that, from the for the Predator movie. It was a nice moment before obviously Gyökeres hit his celebration, where he was full of praise and thanked his teammate Eze for the assist. Not to get lost in the analysis of the goal as well. Calafiori again, what an amazing over-the-top through ball that Calafiori pinged in to Eze, and then it went into Gyökeres for him to score. And a lot of people said that Calafiori's ball into Gyökeres versus Leeds was a fluke, and obviously Neil, who comes on here, and from Purely and from Arsenal Bubble and everywhere else that Neil appears, he said this isn't a fluke. Watch Calafiori do this multiple times this season, and he proved Neil right here that he's done it again. And Zubamendi then, he scored again, this time with a header, which may have shocked people more than actually the volley, but it was a lovely, lovely goal. It was a nice assist from Trossard as well. I don't know how Zubamendi won that header, but yeah, obviously he had, and it was a nice goal. So man of the match in that game for me had to be this man, Martin Zubamendi. I thought he was absolutely superb on the day, as well as his goals, and big shout outs to Madueke as well in this game, and I'm sure we'll talk about him a bit more later. And Mosquera at the back as well was class. Other than a chance really from Morgan Gibbs-White on a counter-attack and a deflected Chris Wood shot that David Raya on his 100th game, he saved that superbly. It was one of the saves of the season so far for me. But you're going to get that with David Raya, aren't you? But yeah, absolutely superb save from him. And so shout out to the players there. But yeah, Zubamendi got the man of the match for that one for me. And then going into the next game, first trip into Europe against Athletic Club. Arsenal started the Champions League campaign off for this season with a win, and we changed the lineup. Obviously, Declan Rice come back in, and Moreno went to the opposite side of the 8 for an injured Martin Odegaard. And this game was a bit cagey to begin with. Athletic, obviously, first time being in the Champions League in front of their fans for a very, very long time, and against a team that was a semi-finalist in the season before. So they really took it to us quite early, I thought. Athletic Club, that we were a bit, I wouldn't say under the cosh, but they were definitely peppering us down both flanks with attacks. And it wasn't until roughly about 20 minutes into the game that Arsenal settled down, and Eze had a good chance after a good bit of work from Timber and Madueke, but the pass into him was read and then blocked. And Gyökeres had a very good attempt with a diving header, which he should have got on target for me. But he didn't get that one. And then second half, more or less the same. And again, we just didn't take the chances that we had. Gyökeres, obviously, he got bandaged up, didn't he, after clashing heads with Gabriel, but he headed wide from a set piece that he should have done better from. And Madueke had a shot saved by Simon in the goal after a lovely 1-2 with Gyökeres. Eventually, Arsenal finally did get the breakthrough. Martinelli, 36 seconds after coming on for Eze. And it was a lovely goal in the build-up as well. The initial winning header from Mosquera is another example of the great defensive work this guy's doing currently. And then Declan Rice headed that header onto Trossard, and Trossard flicked it into Martinelli, who took 2 brilliant touches. And then he's in his stride. And most of the time when you see Martinelli running and bearing down on goal like that, you're quite confident that he's going to tuck it in, and he did. And it's a classic Martinelli finish. And then the second, Trossard, another great move from us. It falls to Martinelli, who cuts in and turns provider. And Trossard hits a shot. It takes a deflection, but who cares? 2-0, happy days. And it was a great result to kick off the European campaign for Arsenal. And Arteta again here, he used 4 subs, and 2 obviously massive for him. And he was glowing after the game, weren't he, about Martinelli and Trossard. And it was nice to see Hincapié and Norgard make their debuts for Arsenal. And unfortunately, we've lost Hincapié already to injury. And, of course we have, because it's Arsenal. But there is already small positive signs, and I'm seeing from Arteta again how he's utilising his subs and the squad. I mean, last season when we played PSG in that second leg of the semi-final, we had Tierney, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Sterling, Setford, Butler, Oladeji, and Jack Henry Francis as options. But in that game against PSG away in Paris, he only brought on White, Trossard, and Calafiori when we desperately needed goals. And Arteta against Athletic Bilbao, he could have still used Miles Lewis-Skelly, he could have still used Doman, he could have still used Nwaneri if he thought we needed it. But once everyone is fit and healthy, for me here, Arsenal, I think we've really got the depth here to do a job in the Champions League. It's clear and obvious in my opinion, regardless of us never winning it before, that we can really have a stab at the Champions League this season. I mean, for me, the Champions League most of the time, teams that utilize their subs and they also have like deep squads full of depth, they normally win it. I mean, if you just going off the top of my head here, if you remember 1999, Man United, Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, both subs, scored both goals, won them it. More recently, you want to look at Liverpool, Origi. I remember that the Champions League that Liverpool won with Klopp. Divock Origi just kept coming on, didn't he, in games and like scoring big goals at big times. It was just like an insane sub for him in the Champions League, and it got him over the line. And then, if you want to even go to Real Madrid, Joselu, Morata, they used to come on, win Real Madrid these games, and they're not players that people would normally say, "Oh my God, these are like the top tier." They were just subs that would come on, get them the results, and obviously win them the Champions League. And I think Arsenal again can have a real stab at this competition this season. But man of the match for that game, I gave it to Gabriel Martinelli. I thought Martinelli was absolutely superb. And I've just seen Melvin's here as well. Hiya, Melvin. Pleasure to have you. Pleasure to have you here with me and Hente and anyone else who's here. But yeah, after that one, we played Manchester City at home, didn't we? And Arsenal went into this one, Saliba coming back into the defensive line, Moreno staying in the midfield, and Trossard coming into the attack. And I think a lot of stuff has been said here from the media, from fan media, Arsenal fans, other fans with big channels, big followings, and obviously the ex-pros. And while I have some of the same sentiment and feelings here, I feel a lot has been missed. And some of it, as always, when it comes to Arsenal, I thought was quite predictable and quite lazy. I think a lot of people see Arsenal, see how Arsenal fans are, see how they react, and it might not be what they truly think, but they just throw, I'll ping that out, I'll ping that just to get nibbles and reactions, and then advertising revenue and clicks, really. But firstly, for me, do I think that Mikel Merino and Leandro Trossard should be starting games of this magnitude for Arsenal now? No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't think Merino offers anything or enough on the ball to progress play and be effective. So really, for me, Arteta is playing Moreno just purely for stature and for defensive capabilities rather than offensive capabilities. But he's doing that in an offensive position, which to me feels like a waste. And then Trossard, he's obviously way more of an offensive threat. However, I think anyone can see that Leandro Trossard is better as a sub than a starter. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, stats, you're badgering stats." But since his signing for Arsenal, he's got the best stats in all competitions coming off the bench than any other player in the Premier League. So before a ball was kicked here against Man City, I went from feeling quite confident that we will see them off today to thinking this could be a struggle. This could be a lot harder, just purely based on that lineup that was picked. And Man City, they opened the scoreline. Erling Haaland, Gabriel here in the build-up, too laser focused here on trying to do Haaland, trying to win a tackle against him, or lay one into him there, and he got a bit sucked in for me. Haaland laid it off to Reinders, and Reinders sprints off with Haaland, and Haaland's way ahead in that foot race of Gabriel, and he's never gonna win it. And it's one of the easiest finishes that he's going to get all season. I mean, when you're the greatest striker in the league, you're thriving off service like that. And Saliba as well, he potentially could have been a bit quicker to close down the angle. But Arsenal, after that, we regrouped and had some good moments, but the final ball and the finishing just wasn't there, was it? I mean, Madueke, I thought he was brilliant again. I thought he was brilliant again in this game against Manchester City, and he had a really good stinging shot that was saved by Donnarumma in the goal. And then obviously we get to half time. Arteta rung round the changes, didn't he? Madueke come off. He had to because of an injury. And Saka come on for him. And then Moreno come off for Eze. And now, for me, this can be viewed in two ways. I was actually quite impressed that Arteta hooked players. I mean, one due to an injury, but I was quite impressed that he hooked Moreno off early because he doesn't normally do this. You know, we're used to 65, 75 minute subs. I can see how people say that putting Eze on right away was an admission that you got your lineup wrong. But I take both sides. I like the fact that he done it, but I also understand the people that say, well, doing that, meant that he knew that he got his lineup wrong. But second half, we were still probing, weren't we, Arsenal? And Zubamendi hit one over the bar. Eze, he stunned Donnarumma's palms with a volley as well. And City had a chance through Haaland again, but Raya saved it well. And we had an awkward moment where Eze kicked it into Declan Rice, and that could have bobbled anywhere, but thank God it bobbled over. And then finally we get the goal back to make it 1-1. And again, it's another lovely goal from Arsenal. It's a lofted ball from Eberechi Eze this time into Martinelli, who takes another great touch. And then he lifted it over Donnarumma into the City goal for 1-1. Amazing goal. And I've seen the celebration police, as always. They're out in full force here. And Zubamendi tried to grab the ball immediately, but was stopped by two City players. But that's been lost in the analysis. No one's shown, other than Arsenal fans that were filming the situation and uploaded it online. Nobody's shown that. Nobody's shown that Zubamendi actually was trying to pick the ball up to run and, start the game again. But, it's the usual suspects. And it made me laugh because, I saw a lot of your Scholeses and your Nevilles and some of the other United mob media. But yet they said nothing when Man United celebrated a dive that became a penalty to win at home against Burnley the other week. They were very quiet on that one. And then you got obviously the Scouse-driven media having a dig about it, but I didn't see anything really about them, with Ekatike being sent off the other night against a team that's a division below. But I guess that's just how it goes. But Arsenal, like I said, obviously we got pelters for this performance and game, yet City, who at one point went into a 5-5-0 formation and had the lowest possession of Pep Guardiola's tenure. There were points of this game where Pep Guardiola was defending for his life, and Donnarumma, for all of his class, I think obviously he won the best goalkeeper in the world, didn't he, the other day? But for all of his class and talent, he was wasting time from about the 30th minute of this game. He had 17 goal kicks all game, and he took 21 seconds to take all of them. So when you accumulate that up, that's a nearly 6 minutes of the game that was wasted just on goal kicks from Donnarumma. Thanks to Akash, who's at AK03320p on Twitter for that. I saw him tweet that, and I thought that's got to go in here because it's a fair point. And he was only booked for it eventually on the 75th minute, so he got away with that for way too long. But yeah, like I said, I got conflicting feelings here. I'm happy at the point, and I'm quite happy with the resilient performance that we put in. But I do feel as well that after 6 years of Mikel Arteta's tenure and all the money that we've spent, I can't keep having questions about your lineup. I think after all this time, you need to know, especially against opponents of the caliber of a Man City, that you can't really be playing a Moreno and a Trossard for me in these types of games. And I mean, he said it after Nottingham Forest when all the new signings stood out. He said, I'm very happy because this gives us options and it gives us the capacity to change games and the capacity to have presence in the team. And we have to make sure that everybody feels connected and important in this team. And I'm not saying that I don't think Trossard and Moreno are important, but they're not important in starting roles in these big games. And for me, with Martin Odegaard out, that is a huge size absence and hole in this team. And you have to utilise Eze or Nwaneri in that position. because the creation is completely stifled in this team without Martin Odegaard. So you have to put a creative player in there, and Moreno for me isn't that guy. But for this one, man of the match again, I'm going to give it to Gabby Martinelli. I thought he was brilliant here, and I've combined obviously the graphic here with giving him the man of the match for Bilbao and giving him the man of the match for this one. Yeah, I thought Gabriel Martinelli was absolutely superb in both these games, so he gets the man of the match here. Okay, and then moving on just quickly to Port Vale. Let's just quickly do the comments. As for the Super Sunday, I'm listening you rather than that, Jack. Thank you very much, Hente. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Melvin here. Norgard is a much better all-round player, in my opinion. I agree. Just about to going to touch on Norgard in a minute when we do Port Vale, Melvin. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. And then Hente, I wasn't expecting Hart. Exactly. That's why I was really happy with Arteta when he done it. But yeah, just lastly here then, before we obviously wrap up, Port Vale, and we made 9 changes here for this game. Obviously, Kepa come in, Ben White come in, Mosquera come in, Lewis Skelly come in, Norgard come in, Nanweri come in, Eze come in, and Saka and Martinelli come in as well. And big talking points for this with the lineup, completely different from what I expected. I didn't think that we would go this strong, but I could see what Arteta was doing. And personally, for me, I would not have started Bukayo Saka in this game, but I understand what Arteta was thinking and wanting to do with Saka. So, yeah, I wasn't initially impressed that Bukayo Saka was starting, but I got why he was doing it. And Arsenal obviously started really well here. Eze finally scoring his first goal for the club, and it was a lovely take and finish. A great bit of build up from Martinelli and Miles Lewis Skelly. And I'll ask you, Hensei and Melvin, because you're both in here. Did Lewis Skelly touch the ball? Been a lot of fans asking, did Lewis Skelly touch it? I'm still unsure. I've watched it back a few times, and I'm thinking I think he marginally touches it, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it was great for Eze to open his account for Arsenal, and then Arsenal had a few good half chances, didn't we? And Moreno had a few chances as well where I didn't understand what Moreno was doing here, and he it was like there were times where he could have took it on himself or progressed it, but he just chose to go sideways or backwards. And Nanweri had a good half chance there as well. Got into the second half, and Arsenal just, I don't know what happened here. We were really stifled for creativity, and it goes back to my general feelings that I've had since, with this lack of creativity. And I don't think it's a personnel issue. We've rotated and we've changed. We've played so many different players, but I think it's a coaching and an ethos one from Arteta. And I know a lot's been said about this handbrakes and everything else, but I don't understand, regardless of the players that we have on the pitch, why there's periods and spells where we just look like we can't create anything. And there were points during this game against Port Vale where I was incredibly bored watching it. And they're a recently promoted League One side, but they look the better team. They looked a much better team than us, and they had a good chance from Cole that went over, and that could have made the game even trickier. And then we're having to bring on Trossard, Rice, Gyökeres, and Gabriel to get over the line against the recently promoted League One side. And I mean, Doman finally come on for Saka, who, thank God, went off, because it was becoming a real panic, wasn't it? Like every tackle that was being made, we were all worrying about Saka potentially, getting injured again. And it was just setting into like a huge panic. But Doman, when he come on, he's superb, isn't he? He laid a great ball into Gyökeres, who, Gyökeres has probably moaned about service that's got into him the last couple of games, but he got it put on a plate for him here by Doman, and he absolutely just fluffed his lines. He should have done way better with that chance. And there was also a chance earlier in that half where Martinelli was clean through, but for some reason he just pulled out of it. He just didn't want to carry on going and progress and maybe score a goal. I don't know what went through his head there. I don't know if he thought that he was offside or he thought the goalkeeper was coming through on him. But I can't understand the thinking that he would be offside, because there's no VAR in this competition, and he didn't see the ref flag. So complete the action and then see if he flags after. Carry on doing what you need to do, score your goal, and then see what happens after it, because I don't think he would have been given offside here. But yeah, we finally got the insurance goal at the end from Trossard, and it was another lovely ping long ball, weren't it? And it was this time by Saliba for the win. And was it the prettiest game? No, but I'm glad that we come away with the 3 points and we're into the next round, and we've got Brighton at home. So, I'm happy with that. So roll on Brighton when we play them. And again, Hente, no, don't think he touched it. Okie dokie. And then Melvin, even if he didn't, he confused to a degree the defence for the goal. Yeah, spot on from both. But yeah, just lastly, man of the match for this one, going to give it to William Saliba. I thought he was superb. He was another one. When I saw him in the lineup, I was a bit like, oh, not sure. He's just coming back from injury, such an important player. But Arteta got his spot on. He knew that he needed to play, needed to get the minutes under the belt. So, yeah, fair play to him. And, he was superb for me on the day, Saliba. And obviously, he signed his new 5-year contract this week as well. Very, very happy with that. Well done to Berta and the club for getting that one done. So, yeah, happy days. And just before we leave, Newcastle today. So, lineup for me is going to be massive. I mean, that's been the whole point of this podcast so far, hasn't it? Dissecting lineups and teams. I've got my lineup here, and I'm going for David Raya, Jurriën Timber, Saliba, Gabriel. I think Calafiori is going to stay at left back. Zubimendi, obviously staying there in the heart of the midfield. And I've put Rice and Eze together. Now, I've seen this morning Odegaard is there. He's travelled. He's with the group. He's with the pack. I don't know if we're going to throw Martin Odegaard in straight away at Newcastle against that midfield of Tonali, Joe Linton and Guimaraes, because they're going to be up for it and they're going to be going into us. And I don't know if Arteta will risk Martin Odegaard to start. It wouldn't shock me if Martin Odegaard starts, but yeah, I've gone for Eze here. And then Bukayo Saka, he's going to come back in. Obviously, he's the captain. He's the vice, isn't he? So yeah, he's got the armband there for me. And I'm starting Martinelli. I'm backing him. I think, after I've given him 2 back-to-back man of the matches here in this show, in this podcast. So yeah, I'm going to start Martinelli out here. I think he deserves a go. And I'm backing Victor Gyökeres up top. Hopefully, he gets some service, or he produces something of himself, because need to see him score in a goal. We need to see him score some goals, don't we? So yeah, come on, Big Vic, and we'll see what the boys do here. Predictions wise, I'm going for a 1-0 classic to the Arsenal. I'm going 1-0 the Arsenal today. And hence here, as for the Newcastle, time to show the players themselves that we mean business. Liverpool lost and we've had tricky. Yeah, exactly. Neil, all the time, Hente, when he's on here, he talks about, he makes the tennis analogy of you've got to break serve. And obviously seeing Liverpool lose yesterday, Arsenal got to be on it. I'd be mortified if we don't come away from there with a win. I think as a team, we need to go up there and beat them, Hente, just to show something, because their fans are begging rivalry. I mean, Sunderland are back in the league now, so they've got a rivalry, but they've been begging a rivalry with us for years over just petulant and stupid things. So I would love nothing more to go up there, beat them, and put them back in their box for a bit. But yeah, that's that for today. Thank you very much for everyone who's joined and who's going to listen on catch up and what have you. And just before we go, just want to send my deepest and heartfelt condolences to the ex-Arsenal youth player, Billy Vigar, who tragically passed away. I've watched a lot, as well as Arsenal, with non-league football over the years. and there is a lot wrong with non-league football. And this tragedy that happened with Billy, I hope that positive changes can come from a really horrible situation. Um, I know that a lot of big voices that are within non-league, Mark White, who is obviously the manager of Dorking, he's quite a popular figure. He's quite a big voice within the non-league. Um, he said that this has to change. I know a few other non-league clubs have written into the Football Association, into the National League and what have you, saying that this needs to change. And I really hope that it does, because this is a absolutely tragic loss of life in a situation that could be entirely preventable. Um, it's just a really, really sad situation, and I've seen it for myself with non-league, with defibrillators. The club that I go and watch, Dagenham and Redbridge, they only used to have one defibrillator, and it was behind the bar. And I just remember thinking, along with other fans when we were there, it was like, okay, so if something happens, we've got to wait for a defibrillator that's in the bar. Someone's got to hold it, run from the bar, which is quite a distance to the pitch. I'm like, with an instance like that, every second counts. And now I believe that most non-league teams have a defibrillator either within their dugout of their stadium, within their tunnel of their stadium, or the dugout of their stadium. So that's something that's shown that within a tragedy, that change can be made. And I know a lot's been said about the Premier League and national lottery funding and everything that trickles down into the non-league system. It's not enough. It's not enough. So I hope that people look at what happened to Billy and they make the positive changes that need to be done here, because, like I said, it's a absolutely tragic loss of life. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in and for watching, and again for listening if you're listening on catch up and what have you. And thank you for your patience. I know that I'm normally Mr. Regular. I've gotten a lot better. But yeah, I will go back to the regular schedule, I promise, and we will have guests, because I know that being sat here on my own, I'm probably not the best host by himself. I understand that, but I had to do something. So hopefully this was better than nothing. But yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Enjoy the game today, and I will be back after Newcastle with the usual format with guests. So much love. Take care. And yeah, as the great man always said, tell your loved ones that you love them. Thank you very much, everybody.